people that is joining us in this second lecture in the meeting regarding with artificial intelligence, biodigital, and all the topics that we will talk in today. And concretely in this lecture, we were talking about the IoT and the new guidelines in the field of technology and health, digital innovation and trends in e-health. For discussing about these topics are joining us in this roundtable panelists that I will present right now. Also together with me, joining in the moderation of the table is Jose Maria Martinez, that will also join with me asking the questions. So making a brief introduction of the table, I will start with Aline Rosette, is Chief International Officer and Barcelona Health Hub. Hello. Near him is Oriol Rius, it's IoT industry and consultant and expert in IoT. Hello. And last but not least, Elena Papoa from Novartis, a senior expert in data science.
Good afternoon.
So with this first introduction, we will make a roundtable. And I would like to start with a first question that they give you also make a brief introduction of yourself, if you don't mind. So I will start in this case by Elena Papoa. So the question for all of three is, how do you feel or think that that's the current situation of these technologies, IoT and all related in the what will be analytics or data analytics currently, not about the future. The future we will take later, but now how is your feeling about how this technology is really adopted in the companies? Please.
Sure. So I will take the other related technology from your question, and I will leave IoT for Oriol, who will deep dive on that. So more broadly, data science can be applied in different parts of healthcare sector. And I would like to give you an example of what my team is currently doing. I'm working in a global hub under the digital finance. So we're dealing with challenges such as predictive analytics and optimization problems. So we're working on sales forecasting for mature medicine, as well as the recently launched brands. Also on the sales impact of when the patent is expired, or for example, on distribution of investments across different brands in order to be more cost efficient. So this is few examples of challenges we are facing, but the deployment of the data science and advanced analytics in Novartis is not limited just to finance. So there are initiatives going on customer analytics, on research and development. Then of course, there is a lot being done on the clinical trials data. So about adaptation rates, what we saw that recently across the pharma industries, there have been a tendency to move from using external consultants for advanced analytics projects into building their own capability within the company. Also, during the recent years, a lot has been done to bring the two worlds together. So the technical expertise and the business knowledge. So I would say that's where we're staying now on this topic.
Great. I think it's very challenging topics.
Okay.
Oriol, please.
Yeah. Not bad, no artist. Okay. From my point of view, what I want to do firstly is differentiate what we apply, let me say, to the customer world and what happened, let me say, in the manufacturing part. Because from my experience, there are two completely different realities in terms of how technology is applied, depending on where we put the attention. If we focus on customers, yeah, there is a lot of analytics and all that stuff. But if we talk a little bit more about, let me say, IoT, about wearables, about integrate in some way technology with the human being, okay, I have to say the current situation is very immature. Okay, we are at the very, very, very beginning of the story, and we will see next year because we are investing a lot of efforts, a lot of investment, and everything is promising. There are, let me say, promising companies like Starlink, let me say the most famous one lately. And the things that are coming are really incredible in those terms, because most of us know about wearables, smartwatches, and etc. But this is a toy at the end, okay? But in some time, this is going to become really professional, great devices for everyone in the end. And this is going to change the game. In the other side, as I said before, in the manufacturing part, I mean, how, for example, Novartis or so big companies with huge investments in terms of how they produce, how they manufacture in some way medicines and instruments, etc. It's really incredible what they do today. So, I mean, just in those last 2 years, especially in the pandemic, how they started producing or how they changed the internal processes for adapting to the pandemics was incredible. In the previous panel, we had some experience from Nestlé, for example, talking about how they made or how they did remote maintenance thanks to augmented reality or virtual reality. And this is I started hearing about that maybe 10 years ago, but today it's a reality. We are not dreaming, okay? And let me finish with just one of those expressions that make you think a little bit. It's enough advanced technology, it's difficult to distinguish from magician or from magics. And this is what is going to happen next years.
Yeah, thank you, Oriol. Aline, please, what is your opinion about the current situation?
Thank you. Well, thank you for inviting me to that. It's a pleasure to be here. So maybe I'm going to differ a bit from what Oriol just said. From my point of view, I think that the importance of the wearables data collection in the healthcare sector, we've gone quite a long way. So I remember, like, I think it was about 8 years ago when the first Fitbit came on the market. So it was the time when we started collecting data in healthcare. I was like, oh my God, like this is so new. What are we doing with those data? And when I see where we are today, I think it's amazing. We've done some trouble, right? Like we are collecting a lot of data today, all sorts of data. And the consumers are also more willing to use wearables, like Oriol was saying, to collect their data. I mean, how many of us have bought an oxypulsimeter this past year to check our oxygen, right? Like in time of COVID, I think we're more willing. And something very important that we've seen those past years is the role of patients. So the patients, the people like all of us, we're becoming more empowered. And we are taking a higher role in our health. We are like a complete actor, like we said, the CEO of our own health. We want to take decision about our health. And if you think about it, like we are like a data center ourselves, like all the data inside us. And we just need to get those data out. And I think that's something very important to take in mind, because those data, when we get them out of us, we can make better decisions, and we can have personalized treatment, adapted treatment to ourselves. But that's where the collaboration is important with the patient, right? And something also very important, like my colleagues mentioned before, the pandemic this past year for me was a catalyzer. Like telemedicine was existing before, but this past month, it really became the center, right? And it was a very interesting solution if you think about the hospitals. Solution like Humanity that's a startup, a member of Barcelona Health Hub, they're based here in Barcelona, and they collaborated with hospitals. So they were actually giving wearables to the patients. They were staying at home, and those patients, they had COVID. And the doctors could actually monitor the patient remotely. Those patients didn't have to come to the hospital. So they were taking the vitals through the wearables, and that was sending information to the doctors through like a alert system. And if those patients were getting like severe cases, they were coming to the hospital. So that's really great improvement. And the hospital really, really enjoyed that because there was releasing the pressure on them while collecting data and checking on the patient at the same time. And another example of telemedicine like that, that's how the COVID really helped. In Galicia, in Spain, Sergas, with like the public health system over there, they put in place a similar system. I think that's pretty new here in Spain. So now they are monitoring their patient the same way. So the imagine patient in the countryside, they can be monitored using wearables, and the patient in the public system are receiving information in the same way. That those are chronic patients, and if there's an issue, well, they can go to the hospital. But I think that's where we can really see the evolution and how IoT wearables data collection has been deployed those past months.
Thank you so much. It's very interesting that now the record of the data, we are create billions of health data around every day. It's very interesting, Alain said, would you provide this data for the health professional, for the patient, for the population to improve the health? With this situation of the incredible billion of data recorded of the health, how do you forecast of the future of the IoT of the health, and which panorama of roadmap you described, for example, Oriol?
Yeah, let me anticipate my position in front of those forecasts. I think the future in terms of well-being, it's going to be something amazing, but we are going to pay a very high price for getting there. In my opinion, that price will be our privacy. I mean, nowadays, yeah, we have a lot of wearables, we have a lot of data. Ones are better, the others a little bit less, but doesn't matter. We have a lot of data which, which belongs to human beings, to people, and regulations, and really behind and really late in terms of how that data have to be treated. Okay, for example, in Europe we have different, let me say, new laws in terms of how to regulate that. But maybe 1 or 2 years later, those laws start being outdated. And that speed which technology has, it's a real challenge. Because of that, I said, yeah, the forecast, it's really amazing, but the price will be privacy for sure. This is my forecast. In other terms of, or being a little bit more technical in terms of how the data is going to play in future, I think, I don't know the proper word in terms of medicine, but custom medicine, I mean, personalized medicine, okay? For me, it's going to be the real disruption in near future, okay? Because we are used on, for example, oh, I have a headache, just take that. But let me say regular pill. And maybe in my precise case, I don't have to take that pill. I have to have another one because I have a disease of whatever. And for me, it's better. For example, I remember, let me talk about a personal case. When I was a child, I had a lot of blood in my nose, a lot, every day, all times. And when I had any problem, people give me aspirin. And I don't know if you are aware of what aspirin does with blood. It dissolves. Mm-hmm. If you have problems of bleeding nose and you dissolve the blood, you are going to get more blood. So come on, what do you do? So I think this is something that is going to change. Thanks of those wearables, thanks of that, let me say, personalized data.
Also, maybe the prevention.
Yeah.
The public health
yeah.
prevention.
Yeah.
As everything said, intelligent people resolve a problem,
Yeah.
and Winsome avoid that.
Yeah.
The prevention is avoid that.
Let me add something on that, sorry, because it's very important, because usually when we talk about health, we talk about solving a disease or solving a problem. Rarely we speak about keeping our health. No? In Asia, the culture is completely different than here. No? So they are more, or they are focused on keeping health, not on recovering disease.
Preventing the problem.
Yeah,
looking
preventing
a
the
bit
problem,
ahead.
not solving the problem.
In
no?
positive, in health.
Yes.
Not only focus in the disease, in the illness. We are focused only in the health of the population. The
Yeah.
people want to have healthy life.
Yeah.
And we want to promote to use this data about the promote the health of all population, not only
Yeah.
the patient.
Yeah.
For example, Elena, what do you think about the forecast?
Yeah, looking ahead. So currently there's still many projects in kind of pilot mode. So they're proof of concepts that yet to demonstrate the value. Yeah, so looking ahead in the future, I see there will be the step towards the production. So many projects will be industrialized, will be scaled, will be moved to the easy maintenance, which will allow to work on more projects. Also, as it was mentioned before, now we have the wearables, and we are collecting more and more data. So looking ahead, many projects are related into, let's look on the historical data to find all the insights. So it's important. So now we are in the moment where we're collecting the data, and the more data we have, the more historical data we get, the more we can do with this in the future. So looking in the future, 5 years from now, I see the advanced analytics being applied in broader functionalities across the health sector. Right. It's a bright future ahead. So,
Elaine?
Yeah, so I agree with what you're saying. Maybe a point I will say about my prediction for the future, when we're talking about wearables, I don't see the wearables still existing in the future. Me, we're moving to like a pill embedded in your skin, like a tattoo that can measure your vitals. We see more and more HRV. So now, for example, on my phone, when I want to take my vitals, I just look at my phone, and it's looking at my like the blood vein here, and it's telling me my blood pressure, temperature, etc. just with the phone. And I think that's where we're going. So data are going to take a more prevalent role, but just around us. And I think also we're going to move to that collection of data, that's very important, extending it to around us. So if you look in the house, like domotic is going to play a very big role. So to see the use that you do around your house, that will say, yeah, the use of the light, for instance, like the bed temperature. So all those elements are important to get an idea about us. So I think that's where the future is going. And you were talking about predictive analytics, and I absolutely agree with that. I think that's where we are going. We really want to break, like AI is playing a big role in that. You see companies like Oking, for instance, were predicting when we're gonna get cancer, like breast cancer. Now AI can detect before it's even visible on X-ray, right? I think this is amazing. And that's also related to value-based healthcare. Those new models where what matters is the outcomes of the patient. We want to limit readmission into the hospitals. We want to reduce the cost, and this is all based on data, right? So that's also very important, looking at the future. And you also mentioned prevention, and I absolutely agree. I think that's key. You look at the insurance company today, they're all focusing on that. They really want to their clients to be good health, and that's linked to the fact that the patients and the citizens are more empowered. So that all go together, but all the data are included in there. And maybe last prediction for the future is that I really believe that the care is gonna come to the patients. We're doing a shift. Like, it's not us going to see the doctor. It's like the doctor care is coming to us through a phone, through different devices. And there's also that subcategory of digital health called digital therapeutics that are like software or apps that can replace or complement a drug. And this is on a phone, phone or software. So you can have a treatment at home 24/7, whenever you want. And those solutions are collecting a lot of data as well. So you can do a follow-up of patient, you can adapt the treatment based on those data that you collect. And that's really where I see the future going, plus the virtual hospital, where the hospital, again, it's coming to you and linked to the domotic I was mentioning before, collecting all those data inside you, like saying like we are that big database, plus all the data around us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let me follow up a point she put on the table, because it's really, I completely agree and completely aligned with some of the predictions that you did. And we usually talk about technology with something that happened isolated from the human being. And what's going to happen in the next future, and we can see that today, is the integration of that technology with the human being. She talked about the tattoos and other stuff, but we can go still a little bit more in that sense, because, for example, she still talked about mobile phone. Do you really think in 25 years we are going to have a mobile phone? Why? Makes no sense. Okay, what we want is the benefits of the technology completely integrated with the human being senses.
Exactly.
Okay, or natural senses.
Exactly.
No? Well, we don't want to wear that device all day, taking care of the battery. And no, what we want is the chance to call her and discuss about those ideas without having to think if we are in, if I'm in Barcelona and you are in Belgium, for example. No, doesn't matter. So that change of integrate technology with the human being, we can see that in today it's a wearable or it's a tattoo, but tomorrow I think it's going to take dimensions difficult to imagine today. And let me recommend a video which is in Vimeo called Sight, S-I-G-H-T. It's really main-changing video. It's just 2-minute video, just small lens in your eyes, and how daily life changed just with that. Everything is completely different. So that machine learning technologies completely integrated with your daily life. Gamification all day. As she said, doctor is part of us. They didn't come to us, are part of our daily life.
And also to promote health. And
Also,
also to promote.
Yeah,
and also to promote health on the healthy people.
Yeah.
Well, for all of the people like you, Uriol, and me, that has been a lot of time pushing from the technology. All of us, we know that, well, coming from the real situation to the future is not easy, and always it's not happen what we expect.
No, for sure.
So I would like to open a new round of questions related of what I think always is the most difficult part. This is how we come from the current situation that we arrive. When we look back, it's easy to explain, but it's always difficult to understand. How do you figure out will be this adoption? And I will give you a small clue. I mean, you have mentioned there are big companies, Apple, Google, that are very interested in our data to sell us. This is not the fair part that anybody in the health will, but they will give or get the data from, give us a better prescription or whatever. But also are the hardware producers that want to get their money back for the investments. No? So it seems not easy to arrive at this place. What are your opinions about that? If you have the crystal ball, please give us something. Please, Elena.
Sure. So first of all, I would highlight the talent so to the hiring of new talent, and now across all the industries, including my team, we're still looking for passionate professionals with solid academic backgrounds to incorporate across different functions. What I would like to say that in the high demand now, there are interpreters between the technical side and business. So what do I mean by interpreters? Those are the people that are capable to go to business to collect the insights and bring them and introduce them into the machine learning algorithm, into the model. And at the same time, get the modeling results, go to business and be able to explain the outcomes and the main drivers. Second, I would mention is there's still some work to be done on the changing of the mindset. Not all the people are ready for this, significant change that we see and we envision. So here, I've met personally some professionals that were saying, well, why to change something that is currently working to something new and unknown? And it's important here to get rid of the unknown part of that reasonable question, right? And if I may give an advice to the audience for the future data scientists and analysts, do learn the interpretability of the machine learning models. It will help you enormously when you talk to business partners to take the black box of AI and turn it in the crystal ball that you wanted to have. And that would be the advice for me. And third, which is last, but definitely not least, is the data. The data itself, it's the main asset. And if you want to adapt the advanced analytics within the company, you have to put emphasis also on data management. Yeah, and here I'm talking about harmonization, about the quality checks and consistency of the data. As you know, in data science projects, around 60 to 80% is spent on the data gathering and data wrangling. So to summarize the roadmap to go from the current situation towards the future, 3 key pillars: hire talents, change mindsets, as well as manage the data.
Great. Thanks.
Ladies, please.
Okay. Well, I absolutely agree with Elena on the mindset shift. I think it's very important. And Carlos, what you were saying before, if you look at the US, for instance, they have a data economy over there that we don't have yet here in Europe, where it's okay for a hospital to share data that are necessary for researchers to work on those. And it's also from the patient point of view, like there's a company or more like a nonprofit in Switzerland called Health Bank. So they are like paying patients to or rewarding patients for sharing their data. I think that's also something important that should really be put in place for things to advance. Another important part for adoption is the regulation. We know that's always very complicated. We need to harmonize a bit more on like European level at least. Infrastructure is also very important. Like when we talk about data, it requires like a very big like bandwidth. So for instance, something interesting, Barcelona Health Hub, we opened a few weeks ago 5G design. So it's a 5G lab dedicated to healthcare. So now all our Recinto Modernista de São Paulo, our office, is equipped with 5G. And we're going to do some activities with our partners focus on healthcare. So how can we use 5G technology to develop different capabilities in healthcare, starting by telemedicine? And that infrastructure is very important because if you want to collect data, if you want to do telemedicine, you need the support, right? And I think also something important for adoption is to include the healthcare professionals in that process. Like, what do they need? And to develop solutions that fit their needs. And also remember talking to healthcare professionals, they say, yeah, so you're giving me a lot of data, that's the data, but what do I do with those data? Mm-hmm. Like Elena, you were mentioning it a bit, but we are also moving the healthcare professionals today maybe they're missing some knowledge, some capabilities that you who are listening to us today, the students from the school, you are the future, and you will be complementing those healthcare professionals. But right now, healthcare professionals, they need some interpretation. So on Elena, you were also touching on that, maybe on a different aspect, but working with those healthcare professionals and bringing a clear solution to them that they understand is also very key.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, my turn. First of all, I spent all my life, since I was 9, completely focused on the technology side of the story, okay? So 34 years creating technology. And for me, the key is something that she said, it's the society mindset. Not only people mindset, I mean, person by person, no, society mindset. This is which defines the real rhythm of how the news or the let me say, the scientific evolution is adopted really in the day-to-day activity. And then things like a pandemic accelerate or catalyze in some way those changes. For example, remote work, no? It's here for a long time. I'm working from home since 15 years, something like that. Okay, but lately, it's the new. Oh, yeah. Oh no, this is the future. No, this is not the. Okay, so what's happening here? Then we are going to adopt all those news, all those changes in the rhythm that we are ready to change our mindset. In my generation, when we were child, we played music thanks to cassette. We have seen different changes since that time. CD, DVD, Blu-ray, okay? USB keys, Spotify. How many more changes we are going to see? Okay? I'm from the late 70s and not from the 50s or the 30s. So what I mean with that is I'm not in the mind of those students today, but they are the key. How ready they are for adopting those changes, and adopting those changes, it's not only responsibility of the universities or of the educational centers, because as all of us remember, it's their ability to be flexible and to auto-learn and to adapt to the real news, because usually there is no a reference book about that. There are also so random papers around, and what they have to do is have the chance to create their own team for working together. And working together, it doesn't mean split the work and you do that part and I do the other and she does another part. No, working together means we add our minds, our brains, thanks to technology, and all together combine our skills for solving something. And I think this is going to define the rhythm, how the society we can incorporate, how we can integrate those things, okay? Because if you go to a technical fairs, like CES in Las Vegas, or, okay, the advances or the technologies that you can see there, usually you cannot see them again in 10 years. And later they appear again. And later they appear again. Okay, for example, Microsoft HoloLens. Oh, no, augmented reality, this is magnificent. What is the sixth generation of this product in the last 20 years? Okay, so why we have to release that again and again and again? Because we have better technologies, yes, but because the world, because society is not ready to adopt that yet, okay? For example, she talked about 5G. There are really amazing things today ready and working with 5G. For example, telesurgery, thanks to 5G. No? ICE channel people here in Barcelona are doing that a reality, okay? But
we're prepared about that because pandemic situation was an exceptional situation. But the people, the institution are prepared, for example, telemedicine, telework, the institution are prepared without the employer are out working in home. Only with the pandemic, we are talking about of the telework and telemedicine 10 years ago.
Yeah.
The change is so difficult. Are prepared after the pandemic? We are returned to the last world, or we are adopted all change. We are a lot of year with us, and now we are take the best of this thing and the best for the people, for the health, for this situation. What do you think?
Yeah. Difficult to predict, but completely agree. No, what's going to happen now is going to define what really changed, or what was just a fiction. No, that's something that seems that now we are modern because we do those things. But if we later go back, maybe we didn't change anything. No, we were forced on doing something. We didn't really believe on that. No. I can see big companies, before we referred to Google and companies like those, no? And they really changed their mindset in terms of telework and etc. I remember in the past, Yahoo was one of the companies that talked about that. And at that time, Google said, no, this is not work, no? And today Google is pushing in that direction, no? With the, wow, something changed, maybe, or I hope, no? What I want to bring from my side on all that story, it's edge cases are never good. I mean, that midpoint theory, it's really, no, that equilibrium, that balance, it's really the key, no? For example, my last team was 5 weeks working from home and 3 days working from the office. And that week, that team was 10 people team in 4 different countries, okay? And it worked for 5 years, okay? And we did really good things together. What I mean is, for sure, every day at home and every day at the office wasn't good enough for us. And this is not a rule for anyone else. It's just an example of flexibility, and is what we expect from that future students that one day are going to become our bosses. No, they have to be really flexible and open eyes and open minds, because everything is changing fast, and rules or laws are late always, and academics are doing what they can, because change or create an educational program is really difficult. Okay, a faculty board is not created in 5 days, so you have to invest a lot of time. So, I mean, auto-learning, self-teaching in some way, I think it's the only way for them. And as a teacher or as an academics, what we can do for them is just, let me say, help them to create those skills by themselves, not teach a lot of material that is going to be overdue tomorrow. It's better to help them to think by themselves, no? To believe their thoughts are as good as the other thoughts. No?
After checking the crystal ball, it's very interesting and exciting in the future. However, there are some risks. One of these you talk about the privacy, the data protection, and also the balance about public health and treatment. Also, there is a risk about this information. Moreover, health sector is a very complete framework of different kinds of professional, like a medical doctor, health professional, other kind of professional, institution like a hospital, also industry like a pharma. Also, we have the regulator, the public health institution. I would like to know, what is your opinion about how these all also should act together to arrive to the future, and also to improve the health of the population, not only of the disease population of the patient, not only the patient, to improve the health of all population, also to safety patient, to improve the health safety patient of the patient, and also to protect the data, of the population.
Yeah.
So the act to collaborate all actors of the health sector, for example, align.
Well, I think what you're describing is our mission at Barcelona Health Hub is really to bring all the different actors of that ecosystem together. And it's very important because, and Uriel, you were mentioning that it's not individual. Like if you work in silos, like you just blinded, you need to work all together, understand who the different players are, what are their needs, what are their strengths. And to collaborate together to create something together. And you need each other. And we see that at Barcelona Health Hub. And what we want is really to create synergies and collaboration between those entities, because they need each other. And collaboration, working together, will make us have an impact on the healthcare system.
Uriel, for example?
Yeah. Let me put on the table something about the privacy. But going back to I think it was the Second World War, okay? Because the example tried to say that data is not dangerous because what we can do today with them. It's dangerous because of what someone can do with the data tomorrow, and today we cannot imagine. In the Second World War was a case in Netherlands. Maybe you are aware that there were a list of the Jewish people in Netherlands for helping them, okay? Because they were immigrants and they needed some help from the government, and they had that list. But what happened when Hitler broke Netherlands? He had a perfect list for the people who had the list. So that list wasn't bad by itself, okay? The problem is the data is not dangerous because by themselves, it's because later it can be used for whatever. Maybe some of you remember that mobile application called Face App, which showed me how I'm going to be when I'm a senior, or if I was a girl, how I'm going to be, no? And some people said, oh, this is dangerous because it's for creating a digital profile of, yes, you are right. But not only that, that data is training a lot of machine learning or a lot of algorithms for things that we cannot imagine today, no? Because those entities in some way think by themselves, okay? Then, going back to the question, no? The idea is we are very, very immature in terms of what that technology can do for us and how do we have to relate with those technologies. Okay, we are like babies playing with really powerful tools. Okay, and now it's time to learn about those tools, to forgive our errors, and to be fast adapting to those errors. And this is not something that laws has to defend. This is something that ethics has to protect. Okay, and usually those ethics seems it was lost. No?
Okay. Thank you, Uriel. Elena, what's your opinion?
Sure. I cannot agree more with my colleagues here. And I would like to also highlight on the topic that Eileen raised on the collaboration. So we are talking about complex ecosystem, I would say, on the healthcare, yeah, between the pharma companies and healthcare professionals and the patients. And when looking just in the last year and a half, we see that the strong collaboration and coordination made us achieve absolutely astonishing results. And I'm talking about all these vaccines that took months year and a bit to be developed. It wasn't possible before, right? So here, exactly, like leveraging all the synergies to work towards the same goal, as well as being open to easily adapt to the changing environment. And it could be a pandemic, but it could be also a broader implementation of all the advanced analytics and IoT in the sector. These are the important things. That's how we should act together.
Related with that, and before closing, I will add another question that I guess is important. And I will start with Aline, because I guess that you have a better vision. Is, from my point of view, IoT and all the technologies has evolved rapidly because it's related to efficiency. It helps a lot to be more efficient. Yeah, but when I heard efficient, near to health, it produced me some not good feelings, in the meaning of, because for me, health and care requires more humanity, to be close. In fact, the other day I was seeing a TV series where appears, this was an anecdote, the director of the hospital said to the doctors, "Hey, remove the use of the PC and take care and look at the eyes of the patients."
Yeah.
Well, how we will cope with that? Because I understand quite well, like Uriel mentioned, I use IoT for understanding the behavior of a pump, of a pump that is working, or machine, whatever, because it will go in the efficiency. I will, even though starve and save energy, but save energy with passions. Opinions?
So I know that I agree with you that we talk about technologies, especially AI, like replacing doctors. From my point of view, those technologies are enhancing the healthcare professionals. They're helping them to do a better job. And if you think, for instance, of voice AI solutions, so think about the Alexa. Now you've got companies like Saikara, so they would put Alexa or phone between the doctor and the patient. They will listen and record the conversation and put it in the EHR. And so the patient and the doctor are actually spending quality time together. They're talking to each other, and the doctor is not writing anymore on the computer. So in the conferences, we talk more and more about empathy, about humanization of care. So I think it's here, it's very clear that it's here, and that's it. My position is that I see more technology as an enabler, empowerment, than really making them
Distances.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you, Elena?
Totally agree. I think that what you mentioned, the stakes in the healthcare are high because we are talking about health, we're talking about lives of people.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why the healthcare companies are taking it slower, to go to this all advanced analytics and so on. But I agree with Aline that it's not going to substitute humans. It will complement them. It will enhance them. So it will go together.
Yeah.
Maybe if I may, one point, we've seen it this past month with the pandemic, all those COVID patients who couldn't see their families, thanks to technologies, they could see them through a screen. That was actually pretty amazing. Now, in that case, it really brought people together. It was not person, but it was better than nothing.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Lately, we hear a lot about data-driven companies, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have to scare about that, really, because I believe more with things like data-advised companies and human being-driven companies. Okay, it's completely aligned with that idea of efficiency. I mean, no, first of all, we are human beings. And later, the rest of things that we do is for helping, supporting in some way that human being, but we cannot miss our essence. because usually when we dream about the future, no, what we draw in those imaginary pictures is unhumanized societies, no? And I think what we have to keep in some way, and this is because I talked about ethics before, no? Is we have to protect that human beings. And if we go to academics in that sense, what we have to push students is in hard skills, yes, but in soft skills, okay? They are super important, super important. Why do we want a super good scientific, a super good computer scientific, for example, if he doesn't know how to collaborate or he doesn't know how to share the knowledge, okay? So soft skills are critical for adopting and enabling that to human beings and prevail that humanity. No?
I have already reached to the end of the table. Thank you so much for your sharing your experience and your point of view. Thanks, Elena. Thanks, Oriol. Thanks, Alain. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
Thank you very much for
See you.
inviting.
Good
It
afternoon.
was a
Thank you.
pleasure.